Over the last 14 years, I have tried and failed with hundreds of CNC products across Etsy, Amazon, B2B, and retail. And in this video, I'm giving you my 3 biggest takeaways that I have learned from all of these failures. So whether you're just starting out or a seasoned CNC veteran, this video is gonna save you a ton of time and a ton of money. Let's get right into it. So let's start with lesson number 1, define your customer. So I'm standing in an old barn right now, full of pallets of product that did not sell, and boxes of product that did not sell. Cup coasters, yeah, didn't sell. Charcuterie boards, didn't sell. Some bad cutting boards right here, didn't sell. And a whole pallet full of trays, and all of this stuff also did not sell. So this right here is like 10, 15 products that I thought were going to sell that really didn't. And the reason all of this stuff didn't sell, and this is a mistake that I see CNC users make all the time, is they make a cool product first, right? And so they're like, oh my gosh, I made this cool gadget gizmo, right? Whether it's a tray, a sign, something they invented, right? And they try to go push it down somebody's throat, okay? And in CNC woodworking, for whatever reason, we are the only people that try to make a product first and then try to sell it and not actually figure out what the heck the customer wants, right? And this applies to whether you're trying to make $100 from selling to your local boutique up to $1 million trying to sell a whole bunch of stuff online, right? The same thing applies. Now this right here, all these trays and everything, this is a very recent failure because I told y'all guys, I think 2 years ago to make these. And the problem was I didn't tell you who to sell it to, right? And so this is not a bad design, right? The tool paths are good. The material's good. It's actually a really nice thing. Why I failed with them is because I took them to a craft show, and I made a whole video over this, but I took them to a huge, massive craft show, and they didn't sell well. It could be because my booth sucked. It could be because the product sucked. Regardless of the fact, they're right here in shrink wrap still on this pallet collecting dust, which really sucks. And I really pondered on this for a while because it kind of sucked because I told y'all guys this would sell, and it didn't, and then I have all this other stuff, right? And then it really hit me. It was like, I never actually thought about what the customer at that craft show was looking to buy, right? I thought they wanted to buy these trays, and I was trying to cram these trays down their throat, but they really weren't looking for that. And honestly, I still don't know what they're looking for. Or I'd probably be selling a lot at those craft shows, right? But one thing I did hit the mark on, and this actually, I started selling these a long time ago, and it makes a lot of sense now. You know, I have these piggy banks right here, and I have sold probably $4 million plus of these piggy banks. Pretty simple CNC product, right? And whenever I came out with these, I set for a few months with one question in mind. And that question was, what does a young mom, 25 to 30 years old, having kids that doesn't have a ton of money buy their kids, right? And I set with that. So it's like, okay, a mom buying gifts for their kids in a $50 price point was kind of my target. And so I kept thinking of that for months. And then eventually God put an idea in my head and said, hey, make wooden piggy banks. And so my whole thinking, all of my photos that I took, where I launched it at, the wood I made it from, everything was thinking about that mom buying for her kids. And eventually it was grandmas buying for their grandkids, right? But it was just a kid's gift. And with that, I was able to design these piggy banks. And so because I thought about the customer first, I was able to succeed. And this is a trend that has happened in almost every successful product that I've had. I always thought about the customer first, and then I made the product. And every failure I've had, I don't follow my own dang advice, and I end up making a product without the customer in mind. Because in the world of woodworking and CNC, you can dang near sell anything if you can just define the customer you're making it for. And so this sounds so simple, and I'm trying to beat it into y'all. Whenever you make a product that you're trying to sell in the CNC, whether you're making it for a boutique, right? Let's say a kid's boutique. You got to figure out what that kid's boutique wants, right? Whether you're selling it on Etsy to people that love to fish, right? You got to figure out what people are buying that love to fish that are on Etsy, right? And then make that dang thing. Don't copy somebody else, because don't assume somebody else is actually being successful with that product, right? So that is not the biggest lesson, but it is a massive lesson that has repeatedly shown up time and time again and repeatedly cost me a ton of time and a ton of money. Later on in the video, I will show you the biggest mistake that actually cost me $120,000 up front and has probably cost me a couple million over the years. It's going to be really good. But for now, let's go to the next biggest mistake that I've made with all of my product failures. Lesson number 2 is to define your sales channel. And so right here is a perfect example of a product that I failed with because I didn't pick one. So this is a cornhole board, but this isn't just any cornhole board. This is my cornhole board design, which I think is better than all the other cornhole boards, right? It flips up, it has a cup holder, locks into place, and it also flips back down just like that. Super cool product. And it meets the criteria, right? It's a product that is a good product, right? It has cup holders, optional, right? You don't even have to have them. It's a defined market because there are plenty of people making money with cornhole boards. There's companies that do tens of millions of dollars in sales. They also sell locally. Also, businesses have them. You can't go to a outside restaurant without cornhole boards being there. And so product fit, yes. Defined customer, yes, right? Easily able to define a customer. The problem I had with these is I tried to market them everywhere. I tried selling them on Etsy, B2B, right? Talking to different businesses, and we'd put their logo and stuff like that on it. I tried selling them at cornhole board tournaments as well, and I tried selling them on a website. So you can really guess what happened, right? I kind of sucked at each one, and I never got really good at it. So here's an example of a focused sales channel. So those piggy banks I showed you earlier, the reason I showed you them is not because they're not selling anymore. I am still selling hundreds of thousands of dollars of those piggy banks every year. And I sell them in one location. I sell them on Etsy. And I'm very good at selling them on Etsy. I take the best photos. I know to get found. I know all my customers on there. And it's not because they can't sell anywhere else. It's because I only really got good at selling them on Etsy. Because I didn't have time to get good selling them anywhere else. Because in a world where you can make anything and everything, you have to get good at selling one thing one particular way. And that's what I chose. Could I have gotten into stores? Yes. Could I have possibly sold them there? Yes. A completely different way of marketing, completely different sales channel. So Etsy is my way for piggy banks. So how does this apply to you? Well, first you have to understand there's only like 6 ways to sell a product. You have Etsy or Amazon, you have your website, you have Facebook Marketplace, you have local, you have business to business deals, and you have wholesale/retail. That's it. There's really only like 6 of them. And so trying to make this really easy. You got one of 6. You got 1 of 6 chance of picking the right one here. So let's pick signs, for example, a very generic product, CNC carved signs. And let's say your sales channel that you want to market on it and figure out is Etsy. And so if you're selling on Etsy, you have to then figure out how to market there. And so how I would do signs is I would target the wedding industry, or I would target first-time homeowners or grandparents buying for grandkids, right? One of those 3 customer bases. And then you have to figure out how to take the picture at an angle, right? How to do the best photography, how to really make your personalization shine out, how to price competitively, all the different pricing psychology that goes along with it, right? And all of that takes a ton of focus. So much focus that you cannot focus on the other 5. And now if you're selling signs again and you want to get into retail and wholesale, let's say you target religious boutiques, right? And so now you go, wow, instead of doing personalized signs, I can do prayers, and I can do the Lord's Prayer, and I can do different crosses, and I can do different Bible verses and put those on signs. And then your whole strategy is to talk to different boutique owners and figure out what sells the best, how to position it for them, and how to get down to a price point that they can sell at. Totally different mindset than Etsy. And if you're selling them to different businesses, then you would talk to the Chamber of Commerce, right? You would get into Lions Club meetings, Rotary Club meetings, and you would go talk to different business owners that might be opening a business and see how you can make a sign for them. And then you charge $125 to $250 an hour to custom make signs. You see how each one is totally different and each one is difficult? And if you try to do all three, so you're trying to get in retail stores, you're trying to sell to that business, and you put really bad slop on Etsy, you're not gonna do good at each one. And so you're gonna be a jack of all trades, master of none. And so just really take the scatterbrainness, take all that chaos, and try to hone it in. I know it's hard, but what's else is harder is that CNC collecting dust in your garage and it not making anything. And that sucks really bad. I really hope I hit that home. Now let's move on to the third lesson. Lesson number 3, make sure the CNC is adding the value. So let me show you what I mean by that, and then I'll show you the biggest mistake that I ever made that has cost me at least 120 grand, if not a few million. All right, so here is a panel of red oak, 1 3/4 thick panel of red oak. And this panel is the thing I use to cut out my piggy banks. Right here, whatever size, I have different shaped panels, etc. So I simply stick this panel on my CNC and out pops from this 6 to 8 C piggy banks. This panel is pretty much not worth anything sitting as is, right? It's red oak, can't really sell it for anything, it's pretty pointless. But once I stick it on the CNC and cut out these piggy banks, it's worth $200. So what added the value? The CNC took a panel probably worth 30, 40 bucks and turned it into a $200 value. That's what I mean by having these CNC add the value. Over here, we have a piece of walnut, right? In today's dollars, this is probably worth a lot, but this is about board foot worth of walnut. So let's say 12 bucks, okay? It's worth 12 bucks sitting here. But once you engrave somebody's name into it and paint it black and do all those cool things, this is now a $40 to $50 piece of walnut, right? So the CNC, once again, increased the value of this board by 4x. Pretty simple concept. Let me explain how quickly this can go south. Back to my red oak example. So, these piggy banks took off. I was making panels, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to make more of these piggy banks because they're really selling. What do I need to do? Let me buy everything to make more panels. So I bought the wide belt sander, $68,000. I bought the rip saw, $25,000. I bought the planer, $60,000. I bought an upcut, $20,000. I hired employees. Infinity, right? I had this giant shop, really expensive, all to make panels, right? And the thing about these dang panels is that they're not very valuable. They're not valuable at all. These are valuable. So what a smart business person that watches this video, or even if you're not a business person, just a side hustler, you would get somebody else to make the panels for you, right? Imagine if you only had your garage and you only had a CNC inside of it and a sander and a router table. That's really all you need, because the planer, the joiner, and the miter saw don't necessarily add any value. They form products to make them valuable, but they don't really add any value. And I just say this because it's so hard to comprehend for us woodworkers, us CNC users, that most of the stuff we do doesn't actually matter. And that's really hard. I mean, my very first product that took off was a docking station. All y'all probably know the story. I sold a ton of docking stations on Etsy, did a couple million while I was in college, all that good stuff. The only reason I was able to succeed with that was because I bought plywood, I stuck it on my CNC, and the CNC turned a $30 sheet of plywood into a $560 worth of product. The CNC added all the value. And I didn't understand this concept then, and I didn't understand it until, a couple years ago. But yeah, and so now what happens is that because I have all of this stuff, guess what I have to do? I have to make panels and process wood at high volume and have very low margins and sell finished panels to y'all guys, because I've already backed myself into a corner and I'm not getting out of it, okay? If I would have just stuck with adding the value from my CNC to the product, I would have a much smaller shop, a much more efficient operation, and I would have probably done a ton more in sales and been a lot farther along than where I'm at. So it's a mistake I'm currently living with that really sucks, but I'm okay with it at this point. I just don't want you guys to make that mistake. So just please realize, try to look at a product, right? Whatever it is, a board, a piece of plywood, a sheet of color core, and ask yourself, how do I 5x the value of this thing sitting right here, right? How do I 10x the value of this thing sitting right here, right? Joining it is not going to 10x the value, right? Planing it is not going to 10x the value. Sticking it on your CNC and cutting some shape, form, engraving, 3D carving out of it, that's what's going to increase the value. And you don't need all of this equipment to do it. Now, here's a realistic scenario of all 3 points. You are my customer. John, Jeremy, Susan, you're in your garage, you have your CNC. Boom, CIC Workshop's customer is defined. The next thing is my sales channel. How am I gonna sell to you? I'm gonna sell to you via my website. How am I gonna let you know about my product? That is via YouTube, right? And the third thing is how am I going to have these CNC add value? Well, I'm kind of screwed on that because I have all this equipment. So now I'm selling lumber and panels and all this other stuff. So I'm letting you be the one that has the CNC that actually adds the value. Because I promise you, you probably can't make panels better than me. You're not getting wood as cheap as me, and you don't have this giant shop. So let me do all the hard work for you, and then you add the value, right? There's all 3 of these lessons I learned deduced down to CIC Workshop. And my best guess is that is the reason why we are growing and this YouTube channel is growing as well. So I define my customer, I know what the heck they want, I know how I'm gonna get it to them, and I can do it better than anybody else. Right? Simple. So I hope you left this video with more knowledge than when you started. And as always, guys, remember, if you ain't cutting it close, you ain't cutting it right.